What up, y'all? Mr. Cruz here. Today I wanted to show you guys a quick video about my production template. So when I crack open Reason, it's not a cracked version, all right? Chill. But when I open Reason, this is what I have that automatically I set it to default to open up because this has 90% of the stuff that I use when I'm creating something. It has it already set in there. So I was gonna run it with you guys, run it through with you guys real quick. All right, if I can get a word in, and kind of show you guys what I use and how I use it. All right, so if we're looking here, this is actually a beat that I've got going on that I'm going to show you guys an example of my reference track later. But for now, let's just act as if I've never opened Reason before in my life. Hit new, and bada bing, bada boom. There we go. So here is what I have. So the first thing that I'm going to start out with is I have my racks in a particular order. I usually like to have my my drums first, and they're all routed to a drum bus all by themselves. And then I have my instruments, and my instruments will be routed to a bus by themselves as well. Right now I only have one because I usually only start with one to kind of give me an idea, and then I'll determine whether or not, like, okay, well, I need to add a bass line or, you know, a synth or a pad and whatnot. And then I have vocals. So if any of you guys have seen Timbaland's masterclass, the biggest takeaway that I got from it was how he uses his mouth to start his songs. So he'll hum or he'll beatbox something, and then that's what he builds the rest of the beat on. So I kind of started doing the same thing, except I don't really start with the melody so much as I start with the drums. So like I'll figure out what melody I want first, and then I'll like beatbox and, you know, add drum sounds and stuff like that with my mouth. And then I've got a submix. So my drums and my instruments, and if I use any kind of vocals, they'll all be routed to my submix, and then my submix goes essentially to my master. I've also got my tag here, which it's a dry mix, so the only thing that I'll add on it is maybe a little reverb and some delay. And then down here I've got my reference track, which I'll show you guys later, because I have my reference track set to where, actually, let me see if I can do it right now. If I play my reference track, let's go right here. Right, my reference track is playing. You're not hearing anything, but if I hit solo, hey, oh, did that Lifestyle. What up, Lifestyle? Shout out to Lifestyle, man. Making some dope stuff. So I'll show you how I have my reference track routed so that when I hit solo, I only hear the reference track, and it's not going to my master fader. I bypass the master fader and it goes straight to my output. All right, so taking a look at the racks that I've got here, starting with effects. In my master section, I usually have an EQ and then 2 limiters. The Loud Max limiter is free. Like, you can just, I think you could just Google it, you'll find it. And then I have an EQ, my stock EQ. I actually don't use the stock EQ. I think the stock EQ in Reason is basura. That's Spanish for trash to all my Latinos out there. So I don't really like it. I actually use Neutron Elements. I find that to be a lot better. That's kind of my go-to EQ, that and Ozone's EQ. And then a couple limiters to boost my sound. Then I've got distortion for my 808. I use distortion more for send than I do for insert. Dang, I'm knocking stuff over here. Yo, who's freaking putting champagne glasses around here in my studio? Like it's a party. Then I've got 2 RV7000 reverbs. One's a short one, one's a long one. I usually use my short one for like kind of stuff in drum sounds. My longer ones for stuff for my vocals or any instruments. And then I have my echo, of course. And then I know that the RV7000 has a high frequency dampener, but I go ahead and throw my EQ in there anyways. And then I got a phaser, and I throw my phaser on my hi-hats. Yo, my boy told me, dude, run a phaser through your hi-hats when you make your hi-hats. And bro, they sound fire. You should try it out. It's dope. I use the NNXT sampler, advanced sampler for my 808s when I do that. And then I've got my redrum, and my redrum, each one of those tracks are routed out to a different individual. Why is my thing still going? Routed out to a different individual track all on their own. So each one of these gets their own track. And then, of course, since if you watch my hi-hat tutorial, which you should, right? Maybe you might learn something. My hi-hats, I always keep them in module 10 or in slot 10. That's it for this. So I will show you guys real quick. I'm gonna move my reference track all the way, in the words of the immortal Fat Joe, all the way up. Where's my reference track? I mean, if I can find it, probably making some of y'all dizzy. Actually, no, I want it right there. Okay. So what I have to set up my reference track is, first of all, I have my control out. Right, I use my control out because my control out controls this fader right here, so that when I turn this up, it's going to turn my volume up without turning my master fader up, so I can hear things better without affecting this. I know that people will say, hey, there's no right or wrong things in music and blah blah blah, but yo, don't touch your master fader. Don't touch it. Don't play with it. All right, just leave it alone. Like, that's a case that you don't want to get caught in. So I have set to my control out. So my control out, if I can get my scroll wheel to work, yo, like, why are we tweaking? All right, we don't want to work. All right, that's fine. I'll do it without you. All right, there we go. I have it coming. So here's a better way to do it. All of my sounds are going into my master section, right? Right. So instead of going from my master section straight to my output, which is kind of what it's set to do as default, I instead took my master section, took it through the control out, and I wired it to an audio merger, the Spider audio merger splitter. So that's one track. The other track is obviously coming the direct out from my reference track. Boom. Both of these mofos are being routed out to my audio input signal. And in here, the way that this is set up is what will allow me to boost the volume or boost the limiting and hear the effects of my master section that I have in my master bus. Hear those effects in my track without affecting or impacting the sound, without affecting or impacting the volume of my reference track. So I throw a limiter on it to boost my track, but when I boost my track, that reference track is the same volume that I got it when I downloaded it and put it into my audio, or put it into my session. So it's not going to change. So that's kind of the reason why I have that set up. And then I kind of use sometimes hotkey it so that when I hit solo on, like when I hit a key on my keyboard, it solos that. There you go, man. That's what I got. This is kind of how I use it. And it's a pretty dope setup. I mean, it's definitely helped me out a lot throughout the years and I mean, even time and time again, I'll add something to it, or, you know, I might say like, all right, well, I don't really use this that much, so I'll take it away and stuff like that. But here, let me give you guys an example of what this will sound like. I'm going to turn this down just a tad. And if we play it. All right. So right there, so you see that my reference track is muted. So if I solo it, so watch, if I turn this down all the way, see, it didn't affect my reference track. So that's kind of how I use that, so I can kind of bounce back and forth. So hopefully this is something that's useful you guys. Hopefully this is something that is useful to you guys. I will leave a link in the description for you guys to be able to download my template if you feel like it'll be helpful to you guys and if you want to use it. I'm going to take out all those other tracks so you don't get that kind of like little notification that says like, yo, you don't have this VST. But there you go. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any like kind of things that you put on your templates that you definitely need, that you definitely always use and that you have. And then maybe in the next video, I'll show you guys how to create a template and where you can save it so that it'll pop up and it'll be set to your default. All right, Mr. Cruz out.